Loneliness is often feared. We treat it like a shadow that follows us, unwanted and uninvited. Yet, if we look closely, loneliness is not an enemy. It is a silent treasury, a hidden storehouse where the deepest truths about ourselves are waiting to be found. In loneliness, when the noise of the world falls away, we begin to hear the quiet voice of the soul. We live in a time when people are constantly surrounded by others, by voices, by distractions. We are connected more than ever, and yet, beneath the surface, there is an emptiness. Many fear to sit alone, to be by themselves even for a short while, because in the silence something uncomfortable arises. But this very discomfort is the beginning of self-knowledge. Loneliness shows us what is inside, what we have been running from, what we have been covering up with activity, with chatter, with the endless rush of life. When we are alone, the persona we wear in the world begins to loosen. The masks we put on for work, for family, for society, start to slip away. And behind them, something more authentic waits. In the silence of loneliness, the self steps forward. We may not recognize it at first. We may mistake it for boredom, or sadness, or even despair. But if we remain with it, if we listen, we begin to notice that loneliness is carrying a gift. It is a doorway into the hidden treasury of who we are. Loneliness presses us to ask questions that we often avoid. Who am I when no one is watching? What do I really want, when there is no applause to win, no one to impress, no role to play? What fears live inside me when there is no noise to drown them out? What longings call to me when all distractions fall silent? These questions are not small. They are the questions of the soul. And only loneliness has the power to bring them to us in their raw, unpolished form. Most people run from loneliness because they mistake it for abandonment. They believe that being alone means being unloved, unseen, or unworthy. But loneliness is not the absence of worth, it is the presence of depth. It is the psyche's way of pulling us inward, of forcing us to turn our attention to the inner life that is so often neglected. In the crowd, we lose ourselves. In loneliness, we rediscover ourselves. Think of the great myths, the old stories that have guided humanity for centuries. The hero always must step away from the village, away from the familiar world. He or she enters the wilderness, the desert, the forest, the cave. This separation is necessary, for only in solitude does the hero confront the dragons of the unconscious, the fears, the shadows, the unknown powers within. In the same way, our own loneliness is not a punishment, but an initiation. It is the wilderness through which we must walk to find the treasure hidden in our own depths. The shadow often comes first. In loneliness, the shadow appears. It is the part of us we have denied, repressed, or hidden away. When we are surrounded by others, it is easy to push the shadow into the background. But in silence, it steps forward. We feel our anger, our envy, our disappointments, our regrets. Many are frightened by this and rush back into distraction. Yet the shadow, if faced honestly, is not our enemy. It is a teacher. It shows us what we have neglected. It carries energy, creativity, and vitality that can be transformed once we acknowledge it. Alongside the shadow, loneliness may bring forth other figures from the unconscious. The anima or animus, the inner image of the opposite, may appear, reminding us of the parts of ourselves that are missing or undeveloped. The wise old man or wise woman may whisper truths we have long ignored. Archetypes rise in solitude because the unconscious, no longer silenced by noise, begins to speak. Dreams in times of loneliness become vivid. Fantasies and memories emerge. These are not random, they are the psyche trying to reveal to us the deeper pattern of our lives. Teaches us to listen. And listening is one of the rarest skills in our world. We know how to speak, how to perform, how to project, but we do not know how to listen to the still voice within. When we learn to listen, we hear not only the wounded parts of ourselves but also the guiding wisdom that waits beneath them. The unconscious does not shout, it speaks in symbols, in moods, in quiet impressions. Loneliness gives us the silence required to notice these subtle messages. To endure loneliness is to grow. But to resist loneliness is to suffer. If we see it only as emptiness, we fall into despair. If we see it as a calling, we step into transformation. The difference lies in perspective. We must ask ourselves, do we treat loneliness as exile, or do we treat it as pilgrimage? If it is exile, we remain bitter and restless. If it is pilgrimage, we find meaning even in the silence. Our culture often pushes us to escape loneliness at all costs. Entertainment, social media, endless conversation, all of these keep us from the quiet. But by avoiding loneliness, we avoid ourselves. The more we flee from solitude, the more shallow we become. To live deeply, to know oneself, requires a willingness to sit in that still, empty space and allow it to shape us. When loneliness is accepted, it becomes a teacher of creativity. Many of the greatest works of art, philosophy, and discovery were born out of solitude. The painter alone with the canvas, the writer alone with the page, the thinker alone with his thoughts, all found in loneliness a channel to the inner world. This does not mean that one must isolate forever, but that one must allow periods of aloneness, times of silence, so that the unconscious can speak and inspiration can arise. Hidden in loneliness is not discovered all at once. It unfolds slowly, layer by layer. At first, we encounter our wounds, old hurts, rejections, failures. If we stay with these, yet we must be careful. Loneliness can become destructive if we misunderstand it. There is a difference between solitude and isolation. Solitude is chosen, isolation is forced. Solitude nourishes, isolation drains. Solitude is the treasury where we find self-knowledge, isolation is the prison where we lose hope. To walk the fine line between them requires awareness. We must not allow loneliness to harden into bitterness. Instead, we must open ourselves to what it is offering. The treasury of self-knowledge, we begin to heal them by giving them the attention they never received. Then, we encounter our desires, the longings of the heart that were buried beneath obligations and roles. Finally, we touch the deeper ground of being, the self, the organizing center of the psyche, which is larger than the ego and connects us to the whole of life. This journey is not easy, but it is necessary if we are to live authentically. The paradox of loneliness is that by entering it fully, we discover that we are never truly alone. Beneath the surface of the personal psyche lies the collective unconscious, the shared ground of humanity. In our solitude, we touch this vast reservoir. We sense that our struggles, though personal, are also universal. Others have walked this path. Others have faced the same fears, the same doubts, the same longings. And in this realization, loneliness transforms into connection, a connection not to the superficial chatter of society, but to the deep currents of human existence. Loneliness, then, is both a test and a gift. It tests our courage, our willingness to face ourselves without distraction. And it gives us access to the deepest treasures of the soul, insight, creativity, healing, and meaning. If we embrace it, we emerge stronger, more whole, more capable of authentic relationship. For it is only when we know ourselves that we can truly meet another. Otherwise, we are merely masks speaking to masks. So, when loneliness comes, do not run from it. Do not numb it, do not drown it out. Sit with it. Walk with it. Listen to it. Ask it what it has to teach you. It may bring tears. It may bring discomfort. But beneath that lies gold. Every moment of solitude is a chance to discover something about yourself that no crowd, no distraction, could ever reveal. Remember this, loneliness is not emptiness. It is a space, a vessel, waiting to be filled with self-knowledge. It is a treasury, silent but rich, hidden but overflowing with truth. And if you are willing to enter it with courage, you will leave it not poorer, but richer. Richer in understanding, richer in wisdom, richer in the knowledge of who you truly are. For in the end, The one who has faced loneliness, who has walked through its silent corridors, emerges with a strength that the world cannot take away. A strength rooted not in appearances, not in approval, but in the unshakable ground of the self. And this is the gift that loneliness offers, the rarest treasure of all, the knowledge of yourself.